Step back in time and brace yourself for a journey into the darkest and most savage side of medieval history. In this video, we'll be exploring the most brutal punishments used during this time period, including some that will shock and disgust you. Welcome to our channel, where we delve into history's most fascinating and harrowing moments. Let's get started. Medieval torture techniques were brutal and inhumane methods used to extract information, punish criminals, or simply inflict pain and suffering. During the medieval era, maintaining law and order was perceived to require instilling fear of punishment for criminal offenses, from theft to murder. Gowls were mostly used for temporary detention prior to trial, and fines, public shaming, such as being put in stocks, mutilation, limb amputation, and death were the typical forms of punishment. As there was no formal police force, law enforcement was left to the responsibility of the community. The Iron Maiden. Contrary to popular belief, the Iron Maiden was not used in the medieval period. This infamous torture device was a 19th century fabrication meant to depict the past as more violent than the present, thus showcasing the advancement of civilization. The Iron Maiden was portrayed as an iron coffin with a sadistic face and spikes inside that would impale the victim as the coffin was closed. Despite its widespread notoriety, it never actually existed in the Middle Ages. The rack. The rack was a well-known instrument of torture utilized during the Spanish Inquisition. Unlike other medieval torture devices, the rack was straightforward in its design. The victim was tied to a wooden frame with a system of cranks. As the cranks were turned, the ropes tightened and pulled the victim's limbs, causing intense pain. Its simplicity made it a formidable tool of torment. The thumbscrew. While not as deadly as other medieval torture techniques, the thumbscrew was still a painful instrument of punishment. The thumbscrew was a vice-like device consisting of two metal plates that enclosed the victim's thumb. As the vice was tightened, it inflicted intense agony on the victim. The mechanism was simple but highly effective in producing distress. Dunking. Dunking, also known as waterboarding, was a method of torture frequently associated with the persecution of alleged witches. It involved submerging the victim in water and then removing them before they drowned. Although this might seem less severe compared to other methods, the lack of control over the duration of the underwater experience made it extremely torturous. The victim could be close to suffocating or even on the brink of drowning before the torturer allowed them to resurface, adding to their distress. The boot. The Spanish boot, also referred to as scarping, was a medieval torture device resembling a rack for the legs. The victim's lower legs were placed inside tightly fitted wooden or iron boots. The torture began when wooden wedges were inserted between the boot and the skin and then hammered with mallets, resulting in abrasions, lesions, and ultimately broken bones. In some instances, the boots were equipped with inward-pointing spikes, nails, or blades to amplify the suffering. These boots were certainly not a desirable item during a sale event. The breaking wheel. The breaking wheel, also known as the Catherine wheel, was a notorious medieval torture device. It was a wagon wheel with teeth or cogs onto which the victim was bound, so that their limbs were positioned between the cogs. The torturer would then use a hammer to shatter the victim's limbs over the wheel. If the victim died during the process, the wheel would be erected on a post for all to see. Alternatively, the victim could be tied to the outside of the wheel with their feet anchored to the ground, and the wheel would be rotated until the body broke, similar to an extreme form of the rack. Flaying. Flaying was a widespread form of torture that dates back to ancient times, included the Assyrians. It was also depicted as the method of execution of Saint Bartholomew. The technique involved removing the skin of the victim while they were still alive. Further description is not necessary, as the mere thought is horrifying. Rat torture. Rat torture is a cruel and unimaginable form of punishment. The victim was tied to a table or rack, and a rat was placed on their chest. A bucket was then placed over the rat and secured so it could not escape. A fire was then lit on the top of the bucket, causing the rat to panic and try to escape. Unable to burrow through the steel bucket, the rat would end up gnawing at the victim's flesh to escape. In conclusion, the punishments used in medieval times were often severe, inhumane, and meant to instill fear in the general population. Despite their brutality, they served as a reflection of the values and beliefs of the time period, where maintaining social order and control was deemed necessary. The advancement of civilization and human rights has led to a more civilized form of punishment, but the memory of these brutal methods serves as a reminder of the cruelty that once existed. Let us continue to strive towards a society that prioritizes fairness, compassion, and justice. And that concludes our journey into the brutal punishments of the medieval times. We hope you found it as eye-opening and informative as we did. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We have plenty more history-filled adventures waiting for you, and we can't wait to take you on the next one.